Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome to another edition of Inside Arsenal. It's a weekend. I hope wherever you are watching this around the world, you are having a very good start to your Saturday. And are going to have an even better Saturday in just a few hours' time when Arsenal kick off against Bournemouth in the Premier League. Obviously, did a big video yesterday, sort of previewing that, going through the latest team news, reacting to Mikel Arteta's press conference ahead of that game, where the big sort of talking points and the big headlines were Arsenal were basically in the middle of a massive injury crisis and could be without about 8 first-team players, really important first-team players for today's game. And understandably, there was lots of concern and lots of worry about that. Now, there has been an update on at least some of those players. And so I thought I'd pop on this morning and just record a video just to bring you all a little bit more up to date if you're not already ahead of the game against Bournemouth as well. Look at some comments Mikel Arteta's had to make about Bukayo Saka, about why Arsenal are better away from home in terms of defensive performances at home, and also do the predicted 11 once again ahead of today's game against Bournemouth. So let's get cracking, shall we? And the big update in terms of the injury news is, you can see here on the screen, there's some very blurry screen grabs that have been taken from video shot at the team hotel when they arrived last night. Bukayo Saka is there, Declan Rice is there, and William Saliba is there. So it's three of those players who there were big injury concerns about ahead of the game have travelled and are with the squad. Now, we don't know about everyone else yet, but, this is big news. This is good news. Whether that means they're going to start remains to be seen, of course, but they are fit. They are, well enough to travel with the squad for today's game against Bournemouth, which is a big boost to Arsenal. Of course, especially when you're talking about the sort of magnitude of players that we are here in Declan Rice, William Saliba, and Bukayo Saka. Now, as I said, it depends whether they start. Mikel's got a decision to make, some big decisions to make in terms of whether these guys are fit enough to start, and especially at the beginning of such a key week when Arsenal go to Lens for their first Champions League away game of the group stages. And then, of course, it's Manchester City 8 days from now at the Emirates, a huge game in the Premier League. So although Mikel's in his press conference yesterday was saying, look, Bournemouth's the most important game. That's the one that's next. That's the only game we're focusing on. As much as he says that, I do think that when you sort of look, you probably do have to look a little bit beyond that when you are picking and choosing your team. So he has got some big decisions to make. Do you play Saka? Or do you leave him on the bench? Do you play Saliba, or do you stick with Tomiyasu and Gabriel, who played so well against Bournemouth, and give Saliba perhaps another little bit of extra time off? And what about Declan Rice? Such an important player with Thomas Partey out injured as well. Do you risk Declan Rice ahead of that game against Manchester City in 8 days' time, or do you go with Jorginho? Bournemouth, they're not mugs. They're not a bad team by any means. They're not the best team. And so you would look at Arsenal's squad and think, could they make some changes here and still potentially have enough to win this game? You'd probably look at it on paper and say yes, but this is the Premier League. So it's tough to look at things on paper. Anyone can beat anyone. We know that. You've got to be at your very best, especially when you go away from home. And I sort of look at that and I think, I'd be surprised if Saka doesn't start. Certainly if Saka's there. Mikel's been talking about Bukayo in the build up to the game, is in the sort of 10:30 section, the embargo section from yesterday's press conference. So it's got out for the newspapers today in terms of what he had to say. And a lot of the questions were about Bukayo's, on this amazing run of consecutive Premier League appearances, not that far off the record, still a little bit way to go. Yeah. But, that was a big talking point about how he's managed to play in all these games in a row, considering he gets kicked left, right and centre in pretty much every single game. And, this is what Mikel Arteta had to say about that. He said, I think I talked about it over a year ago. It's his mentality. If you want to be the player that he wants to be, you need to have that mindset that you want to play every single minute. You prepare yourself to play every single minute at your best. Don't just be there, but make a contribution to a team to win games. And that's changed in him. The way he prepares himself, the way he's always talking to people, the way he sets demands on himself. The support is good around him. He's got a lot of ingredients. Who knows how long that run can go? We have to protect him, that's for sure. We have to make sure that we understand when is the right moment to give him that. But there is something within that is growing, and that's a really important part of his game. And, as much as, and look, I say it all the time as well, it's like, you want to protect Saka, you need to protect Saka. I think there is that thing as well, that when a player just always wants to play, it's very hard, especially when you're as good as Saka, to deny him that opportunity. And I did bring up a slide a while ago, looking at other players, top players, who and how many games consecutively they've played. and the amount of minutes that they've played and clocked up over the last 2 seasons. Saka's, Vinicius, for example, was way ahead, I think, of Saka in terms of minutes, and that's with Champions League football as well. Such high demands level football. So he's not on his own here. We understandably are all worried about Bukayo Saka. You want to protect him. Sometimes you're looking at it and think he needs a rest. He needs a rest. But if you've got a player who's determined to play, who can play, and is as good as Saka, it's very hard as a manager, I would imagine, to leave him out. But you do. Sure, as long as you're in conversations with a medical team, you are looking at the data, and you have to, if there is a time where you need to protect him, then you do protect him. Whether that's today, we'll find out in just a few hours' time. But I thought those are quite interesting comments from Mikel on Bukayo. He was also asked about why Arsenal are so much better defensively away from home than they are at home. Now, Arsenal haven't conceded a goal away from home yet in any competition. 2 games in the Premier League, clean sheets. 1 game in the Carabao Cup, clean sheets, all against Premier League opposition, of course, because the Carabao Cup was Brentford, and they haven't conceded a goal. They've defended really well. They've been so alert in all those games. They protected their goal with their lives in all of them. You think about the Crystal Palace, the rearguard action after they went down to 10 men. Everton was fairly comfortable because Everton rubbish. And then Brentford, second half at Brentford, when Brentford really put on all that pressure, they went really direct, and they managed to keep them out, and they protected themselves really well. And then you compare that to the performances at the Emirates when they're conceding goals, it feels like left, right, and centre, and stupid goals as well. Just gifting the opposition goals with silly mistakes. It's really bizarre when you look at it and think, why are you so bad at home at doing that? And then, well, how are you so good away? And Mikel was asked about it. And he said, a lot of thoughts, believe me, it comes down to many factors. It's not just one. I think especially at home, we have a lot of individual errors leading to goals, and that has caused some problems. Away from home, we haven't had that. It's true that away from home, the approach is very different from opponents, but it's something that we have to turn around quickly, because if we want that consistency and results, especially at home, it's something we need to change. That's for sure. He was then asked, are Arsenal too emotional at home? And he said, at times, yes, we attack too fast. It's interesting that we attack too fast. Is that it? Is that, have they bombed forward too much? I'm not sure. I don't know. When I look at that and I look at the games Arsenal have played this season, I think they've been fairly controlled at times at home. I don't look at that Tottenham game and think, Arsenal attacked too fast in that Tottenham game. I think we all watched it and thought it could have attacked a little bit quicker. I just think, I don't look at that goal that Arsenal conceded straight from kickoff against Spurs as because they're attacking too fast. It was just a really silly mistake from Jorginho. And you go back to Bournemouth and the goal they conceded within a minute when was it Saliba gave the ball away? No, Thomas Partey gave the ball away, didn't he? And no, Saka gave the ball away. And Partey had made the move up to right back, and there was just a gap. There was no defender there, and then Fulham scored. I don't look at those as Arsenal attacking too quickly. I just think it was really poor errors, first from Jorginho, the other from Saka, and they were punished for it. So I think they're interesting comments, but I do think there is definitely an argument about Arsenal being a little bit too emotional in how they play at home. They're so determined to score and all that, and they do push forward. They feed off the crowd a little bit, but I'm not sure it's about them attacking too fast. But look, Mikel Arteta is far more qualified than I am to have his say on that. All right, before I go today, just a quick predicted 11. I'm not changing it from what I had yesterday, even with these updates that we've seen. I thought, even after the press conference yesterday, I had Saliba and I had Saka in my predicted 11. I didn't have Declan Rice. I thought he's going to probably go with Jorginho. Now, maybe Declan Rice plays if he's travelled. Maybe Mikel thinks he's fit enough to play, but I just think you maybe protect Declan Rice a little bit, even if, if he's got any sort of knock, if there are any sort of doubts on him ahead of that game against Manchester City, where midfield's going to be so important, where there's no Rodri next weekend. Arsenal have got a chance potentially to dominate in that midfield. I think you want Declan Rice there. Absolutely want him there, and you can probably protect him ahead of that, especially with the Champions League on Tuesday night as well. So, yeah, I'm not changing my predicted 11. I'm sticking with it. Like I said, I thought Saka and Saliba would play, so I'm going David Raya coming in for Aaron Ramsdale in goal. Then I'm going with White, Saliba, Gabriel and Zinchenko, the usual back four for Arsenal, with Jorginho as a 6 rather than Declan Rice. Odegaard, I'm going to go Havertz alongside Odegaard. Haven't seen Vieira yet on those clips that came out from the team hotel, so maybe he hasn't made it. So I'm going to go Jorginho, Havertz and Odegaard, and then the front three, I'm going Saka on the right, Nelson on the left, and Gabriel Jesus leading the line. Let's see how wrong I am in just a few hours' time. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Please do have a very good start to your weekend. If you're going to the game today, enjoy it. If you're not, if you're watching it around the world, fingers crossed for another 3 points for Arsenal. Have a very good day, everyone. I'll see you soon.